Bonjour. To start, May Day is coming up really soon. I'm planning to film it, and I really hope that I get good footage, and I also hope that I don't have a Molotov cocktail thrown at me. This video, however, is about the interview that I did with the bald man who was attacked at the last Antifa protest. I disagreed with him on a lot of things, and agreed with him on some things too, but since this interview was about him, I mostly let him talk and didn't really interfere that much myself. But yeah, I hope that you enjoy it, and feel free to tell me what you think about it. So you're probably the only one who we're interviewing who isn't a straight-up Trump supporter. Do you want to describe your political views a little bit more?
Sure. When it comes to any election, I think it's important that the candidate earn your vote. Now, I am definitely more pro-Trump than I was ever considered to be pro-Clinton, but neither one of them in the end actually earned my vote. I actually ended up writing in General Mattis, who actually later became Secretary of Defense.
Totally.
So I was a definite supporter of someone who is now in the Trump administration, but ever since he's been elected, I'm becoming more and more of a Trump supporter, and especially if he actually implements his tax program, I think he will have earned my vote for 2020. Just at the time of the primaries and the election, he hadn't earned it just as of yet.
Totally, that makes sense. Have you ever had any negative repercussions in your personal life or in your classes because of your views?
Absolutely. Time and time again. So I'm a little bit more vocal regarding my political opinions. I don't try to interrupt, but I do make sure that certain things are accurate. And a lot of times whenever I go to these classes, I see a very, very large liberal tint. And not even just simply liberal, just more of a regressive left and very, very far left tint. I had a history class where I've been called racist simply because I didn't agree with basically a platform that my professor was taking. Basically, if you are even considering not voting for Clinton, you're a racist, right, or that you're pro-Trump. And it's that adversarial, if you don't vote for the left, you're voting for the right. If you don't vote for the right, you're voting for the left kind of nonsense. So I feel that I was graded down in that class. I've been confronted by professors, including just this quarter alone in my criminology class, where it seemed almost adversarial with my professor and I, where we just butted heads. She was an avid and admitted socialist, and was trying to really spin statistics without giving context. So I felt that I've been graded down on a couple occasions, but not too harshly. When it comes to the personal life, I find it very hard to make friends around this university, just simply because if you do have any position that is even slightly conservative, they seem to team against you. And if they don't team absolutely against you, you'll find onesies and twosies who will actually listen. But it's very rare, unfortunately. I have a lot more of a negative outlook at this university. I've been attacked on multiple occasions just simply because they think I'm a Nazi.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Well, yeah, do you want to just talk about that? You said you've been attacked on multiple occasions. Yeah, because they think you're a Nazi.
Yeah, sure. It actually started back in November. It was a Women of Color conference that was taking place. I ended up going to it simply because it was a very large cluster of people, and I wanted to know what they were doing. So I went and started listening, and I started filming on my phone. Someone actually approached me, said that I wasn't allowed to film in the middle of the campus. I asked why, and he goes, look, we only want supporters here. It ended up with a confrontation where security had to get involved, where he tried to shove me. I had to get him off me and create distance. They then accused me of hitting women and pretty much throwing up any and all lies that they could, where security knew full well that I hadn't done anything. I wasn't ever prosecuted or anything like that. They knew it was a lie from the very get-go. Plus I had 17 minutes of tape that showed, yeah, I didn't do anything. But the fact that when they started going off about how white people invented racism, I still didn't say anything, but me being cast out, being called a Nazi, a skinhead, even though I have a medical disorder, it's alopecia areata that I got while serving in the military. But this idea that just simply because you're conservative means that you're an alt-right supporter or just even a neo-Nazi, just a flat-out racist, anti-Semitic, xenophobic or homophobic, Islamophobic, any name and slur that they can throw at you, it's been thrown at me. I've been assaulted here on campus. I've been followed to my car. I've been threatened on multiple occasions. I was reported to Nazi Watch of Seattle.
Really?
Yeah, I was even seen in public by Nazi Watch of Seattle, and I was harassed on the street. So it's been a fairly interesting kind of trip for the last 6 months, just simply going from where I came from, which I've been conservative, but everybody was perfectly fine with me. And then I come here and pretty much I was damn near public enemy number one for maybe a few weeks.
That's unbelievable. And so, like, you have a condition that results in you not really being able to grow hair and looking like a skinhead. You got that from serving in the military.
Yeah. So there's the VA has actually come out on a couple occasions. They can't 100% say exactly how it comes about. So it's just kind of an issue that several people in the military have gotten from serving, and a lot of people have either had a big white streak up their hair, patchy baldness like myself, or they have the ultimate form where it's basically all body hair has just completely gone away. It is a genuine medical condition, and a lot of people suffer from it. But for people to just ignore even the possibility that this person is bald just simply because he wants to shave his head, or that he might have a medical condition, has completely escaped them. They have gone into the group mentality and the hive mind, where the herd mentality gets it to where they're unable to listen, unable to rationalize genuine thought, and they just go into violence. So it's an unfortunate thing, but it's happening around the campus more and more.
What do you think of the protests that have happened recently?
So the recent protests, the majority of them are peaceful, and I agree with a lot of the people who are in the college Republicans and a lot of people around here that you should be able to protest. Under all circumstances, you should be able to protest. It's in our First Amendment under the rights of the people to peaceably assemble. The problem is that you're seeing an offset, part of the extremist branch, and it's the rise of the anti-fascists, the anarcho-communists, and the Black Bloc. And that is essentially the rise of fascism here in the United States. It's smaller, but it's growing quickly. They have taken it upon themselves to be particularly violent, like we saw over at the Milo protest, throwing bricks and getting into fights, shoving people. There were multiple people who were arrested just simply because of the way that they were handling themselves. These people who are actually in that kind of situation or in that particular group, they want an equality of outcome. They don't care who's in their way. The most arrogant answers I've seen most recently is the fact that, well, these people who are wanting some of these things, they're not true Marxists. And that whenever you confront them about historical context with Stalin or Mao Zedong or any of the communist cultures that have created genocide in its name, they have a very arrogant standpoint where they will state that, well, it's not true Marxist. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that there are too many associated with the movement that, let's say you are the benevolent individual in that entire ideology, that you believe in true Marxism and that it's the peaceable utopia that you claim. There are too many in your ideology who are willing to shoot you in the back to be able to grab that power and position before you could ever do anything benevolent. Mm-hmm. And that's the rise of the Black Bloc, the ANTIFA, and the anarcho-communists. They want the equality of outcome at any circumstance. They will create violence, they will go down to violence, and they've done it. They've shown that they're willing to commit violence in the name of their political ideology, and they are a terrorist organization.
Really? There's a phone call, but I'm totally going to ask you about that. And so, you say that they're a terrorist organization.
The entire definition of a terrorist organization is someone who uses threats of intimidation and violence to coerce someone into a political ideology for political change. That's exactly what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I've seen multiple people threatened, myself included. I've seen people have things thrown at them. I've seen people fall into their car, including me, not limited to myself. So the idea that these are not a terrorist organization, they are a very weak terrorist organization. I think we've gone into this whole monolith idea of what a terrorist organization is. It's like, it's Al-Qaeda, it's ISIS. No. A terrorist organization, it doesn't matter what political ideology they are in. It matters that what they are trying to do, their actions and the words that they're using to promote said actions. They're trying to use force and intimidation to further a political goal. They are becoming a terrorist organization, if not already there. I personally believe they're a terrorist organization.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I believe it was on the 28th of January. The Wall Builders Association of the University of Washington was a fake event that was put on by Washington State University students, which is over in Pullman, not even, I believe, 8 hours east of here. The thing is, they did it to really get people to protest, as a joke, and it worked. When I went out there to observe, literally just to observe, I wasn't going to build a wall, there was no wall event really planned, it was just a joke. Well, I went to observe. When I observed, so many people had seen my face from either the Milo event or the Women of Color conference that they started screaming at me from afar, which I was roughly about 100, 150 meters away. They started screaming at me. And then a couple people started to come over to me and start screaming that I was a Nazi, I was a fascist. And I ignored them, I didn't really engage. I filmed a couple things and took pictures, but that's pretty much it. Afterwards, a couple other people noticed what was going on, and I ended up being swarmed by the entire protest, roughly about 100 to 100, about 100 people at most. But when people are surrounding me, shouting threats and threatening me, trying to follow me to my car, or literally following me because I can't get away from the event, there was a news outlet there. It was Q13 Fox at the time. And they had even started to see what is going on? Why are they threatening you? It's like, well, they think I'm a Nazi because I'm tall, white, and bald. He goes, that's crazy. I said, yeah. And he's like, do you mind if I interview you for this? Because they had started to throw things at me and threaten me and really surround me. And they tried to no platform because he was genuinely interested in an interview. And I said, I'm not really into it at the moment. And then I got surrounded and he just starts filming. He's like, honestly, I want some words. I'm like, you know what, honestly, sure. I want to show them what's going on. And it got to the point where 5 police officers with bicycles had to surround me to make sure that I was safe. I was escorted off the premises back into Suzzallo for safety.
At a public university.
At a public university. I was escorted back into Suzzallo by, I believe, 2 police officers from UW, just because they feared my safety at that point. And that's the threat and intimidation that I've spoken of before. That right there is a form of terrorist ideology.
Mm. And the fact that they assume you're a skinhead because you're bald, and you're bald because you served in the military. I mean, that's just a startling, that's very startling. I mean, you're essentially being persecuted and attacked by supposedly left-wing people because you were in the military. That's that's just insane.
But of course, there's still a lot of discontent with how the left feels about the military. Let's be fair.
That's true.
And there's a lot to have an issue with. A lot of conservatives, a lot of liberals all disagree with the overreach of the government to be able to kill United States citizens at any beck and call that they'd like. It was contested on the Obama administration. I really hope it doesn't continue under the Trump administration. I believe the executive power has gone too far. I believe the government overreach has gone too far. And I really wish that we could start reining in the government. Unfortunately, what we're seeing from Vault 7 and the revelation of some of the CIA activities in the deep state, I don't think it's going to come about anytime soon.
Totally.
It's getting to the point where partisan politics matters for nothing. It's a matter of the powerful and those who are in the government. I don't think the executive branch matters nearly as much as the legislative. We really should implement term limits. We have people who have been in there for 30 some odd years. If there's no change in Congress, how can we ever expect any change coming from the executive branch? Regardless of who's in there, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any views that could be characterized as left-wing?
Oh, plenty. When it comes to a lot of liberal ideology, it's everybody kind of goes to the gay marriage. This is one that I kind of get flack for. I don't actually support gay marriage. And it's not because of not wanting them to be married. I also don't support straight marriage. It's because I don't believe it's the government's position to say who you can marry at all under any circumstance, straight, gay, or indifferent. That's a contract between 2 people, and it should have nothing to do with the government. But when it comes to a lot of the liberal ideology, it's a lot of the trans people's rights. I believe that the bathroom issue is really a non-issue. I've said this about 1,000 times to anybody who would listen. It's if you're a female, or if you're a male going into a female, you're going to use a stall. If you're a female going into a male, you're going to use a stall. And if you're post-op and you can actually use a urinal, I've personally never been in this situation where I look down and I'm like, I don't know if that's real, man. Nope, go to the next one. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think it's a diversion. And I think it comes down to a lot of the civil rights that they want to restrict people from being able to express themselves the way they want. But the subjectivity of identity shouldn't impact the law. You shouldn't treat them like garbage or stigmatize them, but you have to understand that you have to take an objective point to law where it will affect the most people, period. But when it comes to a lot of liberal ideology, it comes down to the gay marriage, how you treat them, the social impacts of how people are treated, like the Flint, Michigan and the Dakota Access Pipeline, more along the lines of I'm more anti-pipeline than pro. And we should be spending, mainly because we should be spending that money on giving Flint, Michigan more, actually clean water.
That is a good answer.
Yeah. As well as, I think the biggest one that comes down to is this ending the mass incarceration of African Americans. Americans. I think we have maybe, I think it's 1 in 17 white people versus 1 in 3 blacks will end up incarcerated. And although yes, we make up 60% of the population, that ratio is unacceptable. And could it be potentially a furthering of segregation or attempting to continue the boosting of the economy through slavery? The 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, but it absolutely gives you the right to put someone into slavery if they've been convicted of a crime. But with such a high prison population of African Americans,
it's a little suspicious.
That becomes a lot more suspicious to me, and I think it requires a lot more investigation before we could actually make a decision. But I do fall on the liberal standpoint of racial incarceration.
That's cool, yeah, and that's interesting because the getting yelled out of the Women of Color conference, like it's interesting that they would do that to somebody who would.
They said they didn't want supporters, or they only wanted supporters, and I never even said I was or wasn't a supporter. I actually agreed with 90% of what they said. It was Muslims should be able to practice their faith without fear. Yeah, absolutely. Black people should be able to walk down the street without being shot by a cop. Yeah, absolutely. White people invented racism. I would say racism transcends race. I personally have seen multiple Mexicans hate Asians.
Or just random things.
Or like Hispanics hate Asians. Like, it doesn't really have to do with white and black. It has to do with everybody who just doesn't like someone because they're a different race.
Well, yeah, totally. And I think, we see it with conflicts in the Middle East, conflicts in Asia, conflicts in Africa.
I mean, hell, I think India, one of their #1 enemies is Pakistan. So if you're going to say that it's the white power versus blacks, it's like, well, there's a lot of other forms of racism, and I think racism transcends race.
Totally. I mean, I agree with that. At the same time, I see the argument that basically white racism has had a disproportionately large impact compared to other kinds of racism. With the millions of slaves.
Well, I mean, just because of simply because of the influence from the British Empire, the American, I would say the American Empire.
Well, it's because the Europeans were the most powerful.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that we're going to be a little bit more powerful, the Europeans, when they were the #1 colonializers. Colonizers of the entire world. I mean, Belgium alone, during their colonization of the Congo, killed the entire population of Belgium in Congo. So don't get me wrong, they're not benevolent under any circumstance, but the absolute dismantling of Western culture because of things that the historical context of what Europeans did is undeniably ridiculous, especially when you have a situation like classical liberalism, which is what the United States and a lot of European countries are based off of, which is liberty for all. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what color, creed, race, sex, gender, doesn't matter. You should have the liberty to do as you see, and the state should not stand in your way. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they are trying to dismantle that, and I will say that we are coming to a point where we are in a hierarchy of victimhood, where there are certain groups that can do no wrong. As an example, there was a protest, or not a protest, but people who were speaking out on behalf of the Ohio State University terrorist who drove his car into multiple people and started hacking at them with a butcher knife, saying that he shouldn't have been killed for what he was doing. And when you have a situation where people are willing to come out saying that what he did was okay, or at least not demonizing, and saying that, yeah, he did deserve to die. Why? Because he was currently in the middle of killing other people. He deserved to die. He needed to die to stop the carnage. Mm-hmm. But when you say that he is the victim versus the police who shot him, and that the police were the aggressors, the police were the bad guys, you are essentially you're dismissing any logic. And the dismantling of the Western culture is what is seen in that ideology. I see feminists who are trying to don the hijab when traditionally the hijab has been utilized to suppress women's rights. So the logical leap that they're trying to do is just amazing to me. It's astounding.
So you have more of a problem with the kind of social justice warrior type culture more than anything.
I do. I don't mind liberals or Democrats under any circumstance. I care more about what is an attempt to dismantle Western culture. I think it's done more to further humanity than any other mindset ever in the course of human history. There's a reason that the United States and Great Britain and a lot of others have done so well, even outside of the context of slavery, outside of the context of the colonization. Ever since we ended slavery and ever since we ended colonization, the United States has still grown at a rapid pace. Britain has grown at a rapid pace. Every single Western culture has grown at a rapid pace. And a lot of it is because they have freed access for women to work, freed access for people to be as they are, freedom to believe and practice worship as they so chose. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of liberty. And that is what is actually making waves throughout the world, is Western culture, because of it brings freedom to everyone. Are we benevolent under all circumstances? No. Do we have a checkered past? Absolutely. I can't deny that. Mm-hmm. But to disacknowledge what Western culture has done for the world would be highly arrogant and inaccurate. And it's not just white culture. I mean, for someone to just think that Western culture is white culture is just nonsensical. You have, I mean, it goes into, I mean, how many successful people have absolutely furthered science, agriculture, mathematics, all forms of science and development from all sorts of people. Hell, Einstein is still one of our, who is a Jewish German, is still one of the most revered scientists on the planet. Mm-hmm. And where did he go? He came here. And it's because of the furthering of Western culture and his absolute desire to get away from a very negative outlook for a very negative outlook for his future. He came to a place that he felt that he could be safe and free, regardless of being Jewish. Mm-hmm. And at that time, anti-Semitism was at its highest. So
this was the only place that you could be free.
So to not acknowledge what Western culture, and especially American Western culture, has done for the furthering of the world would just be ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, the United States is not benevolent under all circumstances. But I think that to throw the baby out with the bathwater is just, I think you're going way too far.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Like anything related to your experiences on campus or even your political ideology?
I'll say one more thing regarding the campus, and it's the fear. I'm no longer associated with the college Republicans, and I hold no negative view towards them at all. It's just simply, I am more worried for the college Republicans or anybody who has conservative standpoints because they currently live on a campus that makes them fearful to be able to actually identify themselves as conservative. For anybody, liberal, Democrat, conservative, Republican, libertarian, even alt-right, whatever side of the political spectrum you fall under, you should be able to have the freedom to express yourself. That is an inherent American right. Mm-hmm. You should be able to freely do so. The problem is that I see too many people that are scared to admit that they're conservative or scared to admit that they're a Trump supporter. When I was actually at the Milo event, there was a member of the college Republicans who made sure to wear very large aviator glasses, a hood over his head, to make sure that people couldn't see who he was, so he couldn't be identified later. And when I see something like that, it reminds me of the stories back in the early 2000s when Iraq first had the opportunity to vote, and when someone was able to dip their hand or a finger in ink to show I voted, even though full well that meant there could be violence brought against them from terrorist organizations who tried to retain control. For you to be fearful to express your political ideology here in the United States is disgusting. I think the entire left side of the spectrum, it's not even the left side, it's this extremist group who are pulling fascist tactics and terrorist tactics against conservatives should actually be denounced at the highest level. The failure of the institution that I'm currently at, the University of Washington, the failure of the president to actually genuinely demonize these kind of acts is a failure on her part.
You fought for the freedom of the ANTIFA people to protest and to do some of the things that they did. Some of it wasn't legal.
I served in the United States military, in the United States Marine Corps, for a very specific reason. And I served to make sure that the freedoms of all were protected. If you want to go protest, I encourage you. I'm not a huge fan of protesting on the highways because there are a lot of problems that come with that. But if you want to protest, I encourage you. If someone attacks you, even if it's for something I disagree with, if someone attacks you to stop you from doing it, I'll be the first one to step in front of them. The problem is that what they're doing is not only illegal, but it's morally reprehensible. We served in the United States military to make sure that all freedoms were protected. Just because someone disagrees with you politically does not give you the right to threaten them or wish or even bring harm to them. For you to do so is that right there. It doesn't matter color, creed, gender, sex, it doesn't matter. Whatever you believe is American. To stop someone from practicing their beliefs in politics or faith, that is un-American. Because we should be promoting freedom under all circumstances, regardless of opinion. And for those to stand in the way to promote their political ideology over someone else's, whether it be conservative, liberal, libertarian, or any other, if you stand in the way of others from practicing their belief system, you are being un-American. Your rights end where mine begin, and vice versa. We have to understand that the equality should come down to opportunity to state your political opinion. And that should be the end of it.